According to Civ IQ polling data, something happened in the past couple of weeks that has triggered a major upheaval for the Black Lives Matter movement, resulting in people who normally had no opinion on the matter now opposing Black Lives Matter. And not only that, support is on the decline. I can't imagine. Actually, I can. I'm going to go ahead and say it's probably the 55 days of rioting in Portland, and I think we are seeing hard data that proves Trump is right. Going in with law enforcement, he is winning this. They've been doing this since July 4th, and support for Black Lives Matter has been going slightly down, but opposition has been skyrocketing. I think the violence is triggering people who normally didn't care into opposing it directly. And get this, Donald Trump's big play is to win the suburbs. And white people no longer support Black Lives Matter in the majority. No joke. First, let me show you this data and break down. Let's just break the story down. People are making these companies, these brands are making very serious mistakes. But first and foremost, from Civ IQ, as of the 21st, 50% of those polled support Black Lives Matter. Now that's fine, and I think that makes sense. We can see that after the death of George Floyd, there was a major spike in support for Black Lives Matter, and opposition went down. However, of those who neither support nor oppose, it has dropped off dramatically, and opposition has skyrocketed from a low point of 27 up to a high of 35%, higher than it's been in quite some time. However, back in September, opposition was actually a bit higher in the 40s. So I look at this and I say, what could have possibly happened to make people oppose Black Lives Matter so much? Well, the major swing occurred around the beginning of June. The riots. That's right. Rioting swept the nation, and all of a sudden, opposition started skyrocketing. Now, to be fair, support only went down a little bit from a peak of 53% to 50%. But those who are not engaged are now engaged. Ladies and gentlemen, the silent majority. No, not really. It's actually still the minority. But the silent, uninitiated, apolitical individuals who got a taste of the looting and riots and vandalism all of a sudden got activated and said, whoa, what's happening in my country? I don't like it. Before the riots, they said, yeah, well, actually, there was still some rioting going on, but it really peaked at the beginning of June, and people just got really angry. But here's the most fascinating takeaway from this. When we look at who supports it, young people overwhelmingly do. 35 to 49, 52%. We have a plurality of 50 to 64 at 44%, 41 opposing, but 14 saying meh, neither support nor oppose. What you got to understand about neither support nor oppose is that it is not unsure. People who are unsure are like, I don't know. People who neither support nor oppose are the ones saying, you know, they do some good things, they do some bad things. Now all of a sudden they're saying they do bad things. That group, you can see the swing. You can see where it's coming from. Check this out. Republicans overwhelmingly oppose. 7% of Republicans support Black Lives Matter. That's kind of obvious. But here's what I find truly fascinating. For racial breakdowns, Black or African American, 89% support. 65% of Hispanic and Latino, 65% support. And other, 59% support. I love being lumped in with other. But anyway, the white demographic opposes Black Lives Matter. Check this out. Around I believe it was the 2nd of July, we started seeing opposition surpass support. And it's still going up. Among white people, they oppose Black Lives Matter. Now, it's fairly split, to be fair. 41%, 43 opposed, but at this point, the opposition has reclaimed it. Back in May, white people opposed Black Lives Matter. Now they once again oppose it. I believe this is a big part of Donald Trump's strategy as to why he is carrying out Operation Diligent Valor and Operation Legend. Now, what we're seeing is people confusing the two. They're not the same thing. Let's break this down. I bring you now to NBC News. The Republican silence on what's happening in Portland is jarring. First read is your briefing from Meet the Press and NBC Political Unit, blah, blah, blah. We get it, you're biased. Tom Cotton was not silent, and it is not jarring. He literally said these are insurrectionists akin to those who were trying to attack Fort Sumter in the Civil War. So yeah, Republican silence, nah, not so much. And how about this from Rand Paul? It's time to demilitarize the police, okay? Rand Paul is not being silent. The Republicans are speaking up. However, I'm sorry, you're wrong. Well, I want to talk more about this in the next segment coming up in a few minutes. But I want to point out, Trump knows what's happening, okay? When it comes to Black Lives Matter, when it comes to the riots, he has seen how people have reacted. And Donald Trump wants to win back the suburbs. I mentioned this before, but I'll say it now for the context in this segment. Trump lost, I believe it was 31 suburban districts to Democrats in 2018. He wants to make sure he wins. He wants to make sure the people who live in these areas support him. So what is he doing? Giving them exactly what they want. Do the people in these places want Black Lives Matter riots and defund the police and abolish the police riots? No, they don't. As we can see from the CivIQ data, ever since the riots started getting worse and worse at the end of May, opposition to Black Lives Matter among white people has just gone way up. And among all groups, it still has gone, opposition has increased as well. Again, opposition among all groups has gone up. The reason why this is important, and it's not just showing white voters, is that the growth of opposition is the same growth, be it white or all. But the amount that oppose it is greater percentage-wise among white voters. Among white people in general. This means Donald Trump is seeing that law and order is his path towards victory. He's going to maintain that law and order. He's going to protect your neighborhoods. He's going to send in law enforcement. This is what people want. I'll say it, man. A lot of Trump personalities called it when they said, look, send in the feds. It's the right move. You might think the media is playing this narrative that's going to, look at this. The Republican silence is jarring. How many stories did we get? Are we still getting? Where the media is saying like unidentified stormtroopers, blah, blah, blah. How many? We've been getting inundated with them for the past week or longer, yet opposition is still going up. It may have ticked down just a little bit to be fair, but it's been going up consistently over the past couple of months, even with the press saying peaceful protester over and over and over again. Peaceful protester is not working. I bring you now to the biggest absurdity of it all. Boston Red Sox unveil 250-foot Black Lives Matter billboard next to Fenway Park. Now, to be fair, it's a smart play, I guess. First, do most people support Black Lives Matter? As of right now, 50% do. So, no. Well, there's a plurality, but not most because they only have half. If they had 51, I'd say most, but it's fair to say for the most part, just almost most. But they have the plurality. They have the biggest among most people, the biggest among Americans, more support than opposition. My question then is, what is the market demographic for the Boston Red Sox? Is it going to be a plurality of minorities? Is it going to be liberals, conservatives, young people, old people? I'd be willing to bet the play is a smart bet because it is fair to point out there's more people who like Black Lives Matter than oppose it. But I also think when it comes to, a lot of these big plays by big corporations, they're not paying attention to what politically active and uninitiated people are paying attention to. So the point is, as they entertain more and more of the Black Lives Matter narrative, they run the risk of actually destroying a large portion of their market share because the opposition is so great. What I mean to say is that many people probably didn't support or oppose or were unsure, 15% based on all people. So when big brands were propping up Black Lives Matter at a time when their support was overwhelming or people just didn't care, it was a safe bet. But as opposition keeps growing, it's going to become a bigger business risk to start embracing this ideology. I don't know if we will see them back off from it. I think it's actually fair to say they might actually start backing away once they realize something simple. Let me show you this. When support for Black Lives Matter was at 53%, opposition was at 27%, and neither support nor oppose is 18%, it was a pretty safe bet to say we're going to make money if we go this route. But now that opposition is climbing, they're probably going to start looking at it saying, listen, It's a bad marketing move because now we're going to lose 35% of our potential sales. That's a substantial amount of money. Of course, they could have lost 27 before. The risk is the amount of people that oppose Black Lives Matter has been growing consistently over the past few months. At a certain point, brands will have to recognize it's bad for business. I'm not saying this to say I am, whatever. I'm not saying this in support or opposition to. I'm just pointing out big brands will have to start contending with the rise in opposition. And I do not believe they will maintain their support even if they have the majority. If they have 50% of the customers saying, I like it, and 35% saying, I don't, they will lose enough money to say, if we say nothing, we sell to everyone. You get it? Political messages can cost you business because you're going to push some people away. Get woke, go broke, huh? I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up in a few minutes. Let's talk Feds. I'll see you all then.